Welcome back to the Garza Gaming Channel. Today we're going to talk about the 9.7 update, right? Now this update is humongous. So what I ended up doing is breaking up the 9.7 update into a 3 episode series. So today's going to be episode 1 where we're going to cover all the new items, item changes and item reworks, right? Episode 2 is going to go into the various different god changes, and episode 3 we're actually going to do a deep dive and break down diminishing returns, the calculations into what's considered hard CC, soft CC, and what have you, right? Again, if we all were to do all this into one freaking video, man, this probably be like a 3-hour video. So what I ended up doing is deciding to break it down to 3 separate episodes. So again, today we're going to get deep dive into the various different items and item changes. So hey man, without any further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the 9.7 update is humongous, man. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down into a series of 3 episodes. So for today's episode, what we're going to talk about is more the changes to items, right? Not just current items, but new items that are being brought into the game. One being a whole new tier of items, which is earrings, right? So the 9.7 update, mid-season update, right? It's going to come with a new event, right? So the Nickelodeon event. So you're going to get a bunch of skins. And then the new battle pass is going to be Zodiac sign theme. So we're going to get a bunch of those skins, right? The one that I'm really looking forward to is this Geb goldfish bowl one. I think that one looks really cool, man. But July 12th is when we're going to get the Nickelodeon event, the new battle pass, and then the new glyphs and earrings items tree and a bunch more, right? So I mean, look for that. So yeah, so getting into it, something I want to bring your attention to, right? So for all y'all that don't have an ultimate god pack yet, right? You're just playing the free gods and whatever gods are on rotation. Currently, you get Ares, Artemis, Ganyu, Ra, and Thor for free, right? But once 9.7 goes into effect next Tuesday, you will no longer be able to get those gods for free if you're a new player coming in after 9.7. Now, if you were a player before 9.7, you will still continue to have access to these gods in addition to the new god list that you get as a new player, which is now going to be Bacchus, Chalk, Izanami, Poseidon, and Thanatos. So the whole free lineup is going to end up being Bacchus, Bellona, Chalk, Izanami, Kukulkan, Neith, Oleron, Nemesis, Poseidon, Thanatos, Yamoja, and Ymir. So that's actually pretty cool, man. Okay, so let's move on to items. Okay, so there was a lot of changes to items, and they actually introduced some new glyphs. So let's get started because this might be a long one. So Jotun's Wrath, that's the first thing that got changed, right? So Jotun's Vigor stayed the same, unchanged, but they ended up removing Ferocious Jotun's Wrath, right? Or the second one I used to have, and replace it with Jotun's Cunning. In Jotun's Cunning, for every time you damage an enemy god with an ability, you gain a stack of wit, right? And for every 2 stacks, your next ultimate ability that damages an enemy god gets a 25% refund of its cooldown reduction instantly. Do I see too many people benefit from that? Probably not. I probably don't see anybody using that, but hey, you know, it is what it is. The second one up is the Ratatouille tree changing, right? So Calamitous Ratatouille is staying as is, but they ended up removing Nimble Ratatouille and replacing it with Perfected Ratatouille. So Perfected Ratatouille successfully damaging an enemy god with an ability applies a mark for up to 3 seconds, right? Damaging them a second time with another ability consumes a mark, provides you with 10% movement speed for 2 seconds, and reduces your non-ultimate abilities by 1.5 seconds. So the cooldowns by 1.5 seconds, right? Only 1 mark can be activated at one time, and it cannot be applied for 10 seconds after consuming the initial one. Dude, 10% movement speed for 2 seconds isn't crap. Reducing your cooldown reductions by 1.5. Yeah, okay, whatever. Realistically, I think that this is trash, to tell you the truth, and you won't catch me using this probably, but you know, it is what it is, especially now for 3,600 freaking gold, man. They're smoking crack. But again, when these changes, they're not made for arena, they're made for conquest. So who knows? Maybe for a conquest player, this item makes sense, but to me as an arena player, it does not. But moving on, man. Nimble Bancroft's Talon. Now this is where it gets really interesting. I'm very interested in this one. Right? The first two ones, yeah, trash. This one right here, though, oh my goodness. I'm starting to see some good possibilities from this one. And the first thing that jumps in my mind is a Freya build, right? Because what they ended up doing is taking that Nimble Ratatouille passive and giving it to Bancroft's Talon, right? So in addition to, all the juicy passive that Bancroft's Talon already has in the way of lifesteal and, the less health you have, the more damage you get, right? You also get, for every 40 magic power you have, you gain 2% attack speed, dude. That is huge, man. That is really huge and very interesting. Freya, Oleron, maybe even Janice, Thoth, Soul, maybe even Hell, man. There's a lot of gods that are going to get instantly OP with this item, and I'm very, very interested in checking it out. For the biggest reason is that Bancroft's Talon is very cheap, man. Last I remember, it was like 2,000 and some change, you know what I'm saying, to get it. It wasn't that expensive at all, unlike Ratatouille, which was like 3,000 gold before you even got into your glyphs, right? So whatever the base cost of that Bancroft's Talon, which I can't remember, I think it was like 2,400 gold or something like that. But you're only going to add another 600, so it might even out at 3,000. So for the cost of Ratatouille, you can get the Bancroft's Talon and the added benefits of that Nimble Ratatouille, which is humongous, dude. Very humongous. Now, Bancroft's Claw is the second part of the tree. For every 15 seconds gain, you gain a stack of hunger for a max of 3 stacks, right? Abilities cast within 30 units of an enemy god consumes a stack, dealing bonus damage equal to 0.5% of their max hit points for each 75 magic power that you have, right? So each god damaged by a hunger provides you additionally with 1% of your max hit points for each 75% power you have. So for each, so 75% or 75 power multiplied by 1% of which, yeah. So let's say that, what's the max power? I think it's 900 for mages. So divide that by 75. So 12. So you can get up to 12% a shield if you had like a Kukulkan where you can easily max out 900 magic power. You could have a shield that will provide you up to 12% of your max hit points, right? So that's pretty significant, man. And cannot exceed 75% of your max hit points. So I don't see how it could exceed that realistically, because like I said, 75 divided by 900 is 12. So, but it is what it is. Moving on. But yeah, that's pretty interesting too, man. Okay, so Executioner, right? So Executioner was one of those items that recently got buffed. Now, I don't really use it much in my builds, although at once upon a time I did incorporate it into my Cupid build, right? And I think that this could be another instance where I might actually test it back in my Cupid's build. Because in addition to having the shred of the the penetration or the reduction of shred of the passive Executioner, you're also going to get that added benefit of getting additional damage to that target that's been marked, right? So with this glyph, the Executioner's axe, also your next basic attack marks an enemy, right? And if you hit that marked enemy or the marked enemy hits you with a basic attack, or an ability, you gain 1 stack. For each stack provides 2 increased damage towards the marked enemy, stacking up to 10 times. This effect can only occur once every 30 seconds. So realistically, if you were to max this out at 10 stacks, you're looking at 20% more damage. 20% more damage to whatever enemy you're boxing with or you're attacking, right? Now, the probability of you being able to stack this 10 times is not very high. I mean, realistically, if you're, unless you're boxing with someone and they're hitting you as much as you're hitting them, it's pretty much a gun draw. It's going to see who dies first, right? Because if they hit you 5 times, after 3 or 4 times, you're probably already dead, and same vice versa, right? So, I mean, realistically, though, it wouldn't be a hard fetch to hit somebody 3 or 4 times. So say 4 times without killing them, that's an extra, what, 8% more damage. So that's pretty significant, man. That's definitely pretty significant on top of the shred that you already have with the reduction of protections, right? That you get from the regular Executioner's Axe. So this item is definitely very, very interesting. Now, here's one that's a little complex, right? And I kind of didn't understand it at first when they were talking about in the stream, but now that I read it, it makes a little bit more sense. And that's the Heavy Executioner glyph for the Executioner's Axe, right? And what this is the passive of this one is basic attacks against an enemy reduce your target's physical protections by 17.5 for 3 seconds. So for a max of 2 stacks. So you can actually strip a target's physical protections by 35% for 3 seconds. Now, a little thing that they forgot to mention in here, and maybe they mentioned it in the stream, I just don't know, and we're going to have to test this out. It says that the basic attacks against this enemy reduces the target's physical protections by 17.5 per stack, right? But is that just against your attacks or anybody that hits them benefits from that? This is a debuff that gets put on them, where almost like a Spear of the Magus, where anybody that hits them is going to do 35% more damage. If that is the case, dude, this is going to be freaking huge for bringing down heavy tanks, right? Now, there's a caveat to this, though. Your attack speed is capped at 1.75. So even if with your build you had 2.5%, 2.5% attack speed, so you maxed out your attack speed at 2.5, right? As soon as you buy this glyph, your 2.5 is going to get shrunk back down. You're going to lose 1% of attack speed. You're going to go right back down to 1.75. So a little bit less than, you can lose, what is it, 75%? Yeah, 50%, 0.5, half a percent. Oh my goodness. Of attack speed. No, 75%. Yeah, 75%. Yep, obviously I'm not a mathematician, dude. But anyway, the main idea of the story is you're gonna be shooting a lot slower, right? You're gonna go from 2.5 to 1.75 attack speed. Now, if you have Silver Branch incorporated in your build, you're still gonna get the benefit of the additional attack power that your original build had over 2.5% attack speed, right? So you're still gonna get that added attack power. You're just not gonna get that attack speed after 1.75. So from 1.75 to 2.5, you're not getting nothing. So keep that in mind. Okay, and so we already talked about that. So Magi's Cloak, right? So this is getting a new glyph. So this one is whenever your passive is consumed, the nearest ally guide within 25 units of you gains protection from a single hard controlled effect. A hard control effect would be a stun. I would think a pull, grab, knock up, probably a root, all right, for 5 seconds. If the passive is consumed before the time runs out, so if you do that, and all of a sudden that as soon as that ally gets this buff, they get a hard CC on them. Before the 5 seconds is up, they gain 1 second of crowd control immunity. So that's pretty interesting. Magi's Revenge, the first enemy god that hits you with a hard crowd control while you're protected becomes marked with revenge for 5 seconds, right? So gods that are marked with revenge causes your allies to be able to get 20% faster movement speed going towards this individual, right? So they get that they're marked for death, man. So anybody that's around them within 40 units is going to get 20% faster movement speed towards them, and is going to be allowed to do 10% additional bonus damage to that individual, right? So that might make individuals think twice before hitting anybody with a hard CC, especially if they're out there by themselves and outnumbered within 40 units. So this one is kind of interesting, man. The fact that they did this on Magi's Cloak, though, not too many people use that, so I would see that if anybody using that item would do it just for this revenge type item. So this should be interesting to see. Now the masks, right? So the masks got totally reworked. The masks, they pulled them out as items and then re-implemented them as actual starter items, right? So the first one we're going to talk about is the Protector's Mask. This one can only be purchased by mages, assassins, and hunters, and you get 125 health and 100 mana. Now the passive from this one will decrease damage dealt by 6% for every quarter percent of your god's level. And decreases the damage taken by 6% by quarter of your god's level. So getting an assist on an enemy minion or jungle monster dying will provide 8 bonus gold and restore 15 health and 15 mana. If you are not within 30 units of an allied god for 20 seconds, this passive is disabled until you are near an allied god again. Can be upgraded at level 15, not 20, level 15. So that's pretty interesting. So once it gets, increased in level, once it maxes out, and turns into low nose mask, right? So this one right here can only, like I said before, can only be purchased by mages, assassins, and hunters. And that's pretty important to know, because I'll tell you what, this would have been awesome on Ares, but it is what it is, right? It probably would have been too OP. But anyway, the stats on this one, it gives you 300 health, 200 mana, and 10% crowd control reduction, right? The passive on this one, you gain 5 stacks of cowardice. Each stack reduces your damage dealt and healing output by 10%. For each 60 protections that you get from items, key phrase, from items. So the basic starter protections you get does not count. It's only from protections you get from items. Removes a stack of cowardice, right? When you remove a stack of cowardice, you gain a stack of bravery. For each stack of bravery, you gain 3% damage mitigation and provides 7 physical and 7 magical protections to allies within a 55 unit perimeter of you. Dude, that's pretty OP for sure. I can very easily see people building tanky, like mage tanks, assassin tanks, maybe even hunter tanks, and incorporating this item into them. It's going to be a nightmare, dude. But hey, man, it is what it is, right? And I already seen kind of Danzo Burrow and Alquang type tanks in arena, and who knows, maybe they knew this was coming. I don't know. Maybe it's just a fluke, but man, it's going to make those guys even more of a pain in the butt. Let me tell you. So the next one is Fighter's Mask. So this one can only be purchased by warriors and guardians, and it gives you at the level 1 or the starter item. It gives you 10 physical, 15 magical power, 10 HP 5, and 10% cooldown reduction. And the passive on this one is increase the damage dealt by 6% for every quarter of your level, and then 25% of your level, and then increase damage taken by 6% and 25% of the god's level. So this item grants 2 MP5 plus 10% of your missing mana. And then it grants 2 MP5 per 10% of your missing mana. Okay, got it. Okay, so your abilities deal 10 bonus ability true damage to minions. So this is going to allow you to do more damage to minions to help you actually clear the big minion when he comes out in arena, right? Now, when this gets upgraded to Ragda's Mask, or Ragda's Mask, yeah, whatever. You get 60 physical power, 80 magical power, 20 HP 5, and 10 cooldown reduction. Now, the passive on this one is you gain 5 stacks of weakness. Each stack increases your damage taken by 10%. For each 65 physical power or 90% magical power from items, you remove a stack of weakness. When you remove a stack of weakness, you gain what's called a stack of strength. For each stack of strength, you gain 3% damage dealt and 2% movement speed. So you get 3% more damage, 2% more movement speed per stack, up to 5 stacks, which is pretty significant, man. You're looking at 50% more damage and 10% more movement speed. Now, keep in mind, though, you'd have to max out your physical power. It's going to be probably around, 325, I think it is. And then your magical is going to be maxed out at about 450, I believe. Let's multiply that. 65 by 5. Yeah, 325. And then, of course, your 90 by 5 is going to be 450. So, I actually got that one right. But yeah, it is what it is, man. Okay, so here we go into the new tree, right? So this is going to be the new earrings tree that they're implementing with 9.7. So the first one is mystical earrings, right? So this one is going to give you 15 MP5, when you first get it. Got tier 1. Tier 2 of a gleaming ear cuffs. This one's going to give you, and this one actually builds into the griffin wing earrings, right? And this is going to give you 20 physical power, 30 magical power, 15% attack speed, and 15 MP5. Now, the second tier 2 one is called Jeweled Studs, and this is the one that you would get going into the Finks's Babel, right? And this one's going to give you 30 physical power, 50 magical power, 10% cooldown reductions, and 20 MP5. The third one, tier 2, this one's actually going to build into your Mana Core Spike or Fey Blessing hoops. And this is how it branches out, right? You're going to get 200 health with this one, 15 MP5, and 15 HP5. So the tier 3, so this is what they're going to evolve to, right? So the first one's called Griffin Wing Earring. So this one is going to give you 20 physical power, 60 magical power, 25% attack speed, and 15 MP5. Now the passive on this one is his basic projectile speeds are increased by 40%, dude. But the basic damage is reduced by 15. So it's almost like Charybdis' attack, right? But this is very interesting because it doesn't say anything about this. But when I first thought about this, right, the first thing that jumped into my mind was, dude, an ability to do 40% faster attack speed, projectile attack speed, right? Combined with something like Obsidius's bow, dude, that's going to be ridiculous. Can you imagine having 2 hunters with Obsidius's bow that have their projectiles to be able to attack 40% faster? That's craziness, man. So that's going to be very interesting. I'll have to see how that works out, if it works out. If it works out the way I think it's going to work out, right? So that's very interesting on that one. Now the Sphinx's Bobble. This one, the stats you're gonna get 55 physical power, 80 magical power, 10% cooldown reduction, and 30 MP5. So that's interesting. The passive on this one is a cooldown reduction cap increase from 40% to 60% cooldown reduction. So you're actually gonna get, almost 50% more cooldown reduction than you currently have right now. In fact, you will get 50% more cooldown reduction than you currently have, moving from 40 to 60, which is humongous. And that's not every 10 seconds, whatever. That's your base cooldown reduction. That's your solid cooldown reduction. That's what makes that so interesting, right? And then ability damage, though, is decreased by 20%. So you're going to get that cooldown reduction, but you're going to be doing 20% less damage. So that's a huge trade-off right there. And then your healing, you're going to be doing 20% less healing in addition to that. So is getting an additional 20% cooldown reduction worth it? I don't know, man. We're gonna have to wait and see. I mean, is that 20%, cooldown reduction going to allow you to do what normally would be more than 20% more damage? I don't know, man. I don't know. I guess it would depend on your ult, right? Maybe a new wall ult, maybe, or a Zeus ult, maybe, man. I don't know. So we're gonna have to see how this works out. Now, this one I believe is locked into Magis, I think it was. Oh no, it doesn't say anything about being locked in unless I'm blind, which could be the case. No, I don't see any prerequisite. So I guess you're good to go on this one, man. All right, so moving on. So Mana Core Spike, right? So this one, the stats is 350 hit points, 30 more HP 5, 20 MP 5, and 20% crowd control reduction. Those are some really sweet stats, but let's see what the passive is, right? So when you hit an enemy guy with a hard crowd control, they drop a spike on the ground. So when you or your allies pick up that spike, they gain a buff that causes their next ability to deal bonus damage equal to 3% of their max hit point. This effect is doubled if you are the one that picks up the spike. Spike lasts 7 seconds on the ground, cannot stack. Picking up another spike when you have the buff refreshes the duration. Interesting. Very interesting. So when you or an ally pick up that spike, they say they gain a buff. So does that mean that if the ally picks up the spike, he or she is the one that gets the buff, not you. Originally, when I heard this in the stream we had yesterday, I thought that if the spike drops, right, and your ally picks it up, you get the buff, but only at 3% of that individual's max hit points, right? But if you pick it up, you get 6%. But now reading this like that is sounding like if that spike falls and your hunter picks it up, your hunter gets that buff to be able to do 3% of his max hit point as bonus damage, right? So that is freaking amazing. That is huge, dude. That is huge. Could you imagine timing this where you can pick this? Because it doesn't say that it's to any one class. So, dude, if you can time this, pick up one of these stacks, pop your trinket, and then go into a new wall alt after you're standing in a freaking, you have that freaking bracer brilliance stack, dude. I mean, there's so much stacking damage you can do with this that just boggles the mind. Or Zeus, man. Ooh, this one's actually pretty interesting. I'll have to keep an eye on how this one's going to work. I'm definitely going to test this one. That one definitely sounds interesting. Okay, so the next one, Fae Bless Hoots, right? So this one, the stats is 300 health, 20 HP 5, 40 MP 5. And the passive on this one is each time a allied god dies within 70 units of you, or you heal an allied god within ability, a flower drops from your ally that can be picked up by you or the allied god. Picking up the flower gives a god a shield equal to 7.5% of their max hit points that lasts for 8 seconds. Does not stack. A new shield refreshes the durations. Flowers last 7 seconds on the ground. Holy crap, dude. That is going to be huge for protecting your Zeuses, your Kukulkans, your Anubises, those guys that really don't have very good escapes, man. Married up in a team with a Sylvanas, a Baron, man. It's just going to be, boy, they're just going to be shooting those flowers out. It's going to look like a freaking wedding, man. That's going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to have to check this one out for sure. That sounds really, really nice. Okay, so here we go with the item balances, right? So Brawler Stick, Divine Ruin, and the Toxic Blade, they just reduced their anti-heal debuff by 1 second. So before it was 6 seconds, now it's going to be 5 seconds. So nothing too big. Now, Boombas Hammer got a total rework, right? So the new stats on Boombas Hammer is going to be 50 physical power, 70 magical power, 150 health, 10% cooldown reduction. And the passive now, after casting an ability, your next basic attack deals an additional 82 damage, like the original one, right? But after hitting a basic attack, empowered by Boombas Hammer, your active non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 1 second, and you are now healed by 120 health. Whereas before you were healed by 5% of your max health, now you're only healed by 120 health. Which at 3,200 health, you're probably looking at a difference of being held by maybe less, by 40 health hit points less than normal, right? So, I mean, yeah, I guess that could be pretty crappy, but I mean, it is what it is, man. Okay, so Amulet of the Stronghold, right? This one is awesome because I just incorporated this into my new Ares build that I did a couple of weeks back, right? And it worked out beautifully. But this makes me even more happy that I picked this item because now they increase the conversion rate from your passive, right? From 10% to 15%. So you get, before it converted, I think 10% of your physical protections to magical protections. Now it's going to convert 15%. So that is huge, dude. And Amulet of Silence, they reduced the initial cooldown of silence from 45 seconds to 30 seconds. And then support items, right? So now these following support items can now be upgraded at level 15, not level 20 like before, now at level 15. So Sentinel's Embrace, Sentinel's Boon, Compassion, Animosity, Spartan Flag, War Banner, and Lono's Mask can now be upgraded at level 15. Sentinel's Gift, they increased the bonus gold per trigger from 7 to 8. Sentinel's Embrace, they added 6 gold per 5 seconds. Relic Dagger increased the relic cooldown reduction from 30 seconds to 40 seconds, which is pretty cool, man. It reduces you by an additional 20 seconds more. Or so you get your cooldowns 20 seconds on your relic, 10 seconds faster. Okay, tyrannical plate helm. Increase minion buff from 20% health and attack speed to 25 health and attack speed. Okay. Mana or renewal. Increase physical protections from 20 to 30. Increase magical protections from 20 to 30. Oh, that's pretty cool. That's very nice, actually. The sledge. Increase CCR from 20% to 30%. That is huge, man. I love the sledge on assassins or warriors that I'm learning, to use, right? Especially assassins. When I first started using an assassin, especially someone that doesn't have a very easily escapable type of attack, I like adding a little bit of defense, right? But I hate having to use heavy defense items that have no attack power whatsoever. That's why I love the sledge, man. The sledge is like having the best of both worlds. You get that extra, 40 attack power, but you also get protections and you get hit points on top of that. So you increase your hit point pool, plus you become a little bit more tanky. And with this one, you're going to be a little bit more immune to a higher percentage of CC. So that's really awesome, man. That's definitely really awesome. Shield of Regrowth. The passive now adds 15 physical power and 30 magical power in addition to the movement speed buff that you get. And dude, that's going to be huge for Hercules, dude, because Hercules, can trigger this with his healing ability. So in addition to that, he can actually now trigger that, rush in and do his double CC freaking combo. That's just insane for more damage for each hit because it lasts for 4 seconds. So you can actually do a 1-2 combo. That's going to be very big for Hercules, man. Pentagrams piece. This one, they removed the 10% magical penetration, but they added 10% cooldown reduction. Increased health from 200 to 250. Okay. This is another big one, baby. This is another big one. And the awesome thing about the Staff of Meriden is the fact that it's pretty much in almost every one of my mage builds. Now, they removed the old passive, where you get, that extra cooldown reduction as soon as you do an ult on all your non-ult abilities. Which was okay, but it was like whatever, dude, right? But now this new passive, dude, is very interesting. So when your ultimate ability has finished casting, you gain a Meriden's Rage, right? Which provides 25% increased damage dealt, decaying by 2.5%. Increased damage dealt over 8 seconds. So at the end of this 8 seconds, you lose a Meriden's Rage. This can only happen once every 45 seconds. Dude, for Zeus, this is going to be redonkulous, man, because you can have him do his ult and then go straight into his 3, or his ult, go straight to that shield, go straight to his combo with the lightning bolt, and then go into that 3, and is going to be able to take advantage of this extra damage, dude. That's going to be pretty awesome. That's definitely 25% more awesome on that boom, dude. You're probably looking, averages about 400 and some change sometimes. Yeah, dude, another extra 100, 200 points of damage, easy. That's going to be pretty significant, I think. So I'm very happy about that one for sure. Another very interesting one is Sentinel Celestial Legion Helm, right? So as we all know, right now in Arena, high crit hunters are just wreaking havoc, dude. They do so much damage. And the only item that we have in place in there to counter these high crit hunters or these high crit assassins is pretty much spectral armor, right? But now they added a one step even further by adding the Celestial Legion Helm. So for this one, for every 3 seconds, like regular Celestial Legion Helm, every 3 seconds you get a stack, right? Up to, I think it's like 5 stacks. So in addition to its current passive, they also added where each stack is also going to give you 4% crit damage reduction per stack. So we're looking at what? A total of 20% less crit? Which is redonkulous, dude. On top, and now imagine combining it with spectral armor that you're already getting 40% less crit with an additional 60% less crit. So you're actually going to get a crit is usually what, 50% more than your damage to an 50% more damage to an actual enemy, or maybe it's 100% damage, so doubles your damage, right? So dude, you're looking at getting critted for 60% less crit damage, dude. So if somebody crits you, let me put this in perspective for you, right? So if somebody crits you for 1,000 points of damage, you're only going to take 400 points of damage. So for a tank, 400 points of damage isn't crap compared to 1,000, 1,200 points of damage, right? So this is freaking huge, dude, huge. So that's very interesting. Now here we go into the relics. Now initially when I was watching this in the stream, I misunderstood it. For some reason I saw the picture and I interpreted Bracer of Brilliance. But this is actually a Bracer of Illumination, which is not as exciting, man. Originally I thought that they did this buff on Bracer of Brilliance and I got really hyped, man. But it was on Bracer of Illumination. Who uses that? I don't know. I know I don't. But it is what it is. But anyway, Bracer of Illumination, the buff duration increased from 8 seconds to 12 seconds. Dude, if they were to increase the Bracer of Brilliance duration by another 4 seconds, that would have been game changing, dude. That would have been freaking awesome. But it is what it is. Let down. And then the down onk, they increased the damage on this one by 2% current hit points to 4% current hit points. So they doubled the current hit points damage. So yeah. So Cloak of the Avatar increased the knockback strength by 33%. All right, whatever. Chaotic beads, I should say, changed the passive from 7% current health as magic damage to 5% current health as true damage. That could be significant, especially if you're going against a god that has heavy protections. You probably end up doing a lot more damage with 5% true damage. So yeah, that one's one that we're gonna have to see. I don't use it. I don't really use chaotic beads or any of those high tier type items except for Bracer Brilliance. I think is the only one I really buy at the higher tier. All the other ones I'm cheap and just buy the free one, unless it's the very end and I got extra gold, right? So that one was going to be interesting, man. So Emblem of the Trembling Terror. Decrease health threshold for Tremble to occur from 30% max hit points to 15% max hit points. So they reduced it by 50%, man. The health threshold on it. So that's interesting. Sundering Blast. Fixed bug where incorrect Sunder icon was being used to represent the cooldown, right? Increased target's damage taken increase from 5% to 7.5%. So they increased it by 2.5%, so by 50%. So that's pretty significant, dude. And remember, that's per hit. If I remember correctly, this thing gets 2 hits, right? So that could be pretty significant, man. Thorns of Overgrowth, right? So this one, they increased the radius of the passive from 55 units to 70 units, man. That is definitely very interesting, man. I love using thorns to troll Kukukans, especially if you're a heavy tank, because what you do is you just pop these thorns and step into a one of their whirlwinds, and they end up getting that damage. Especially if you see them running with really low hit points, it's kind of like a sneaky way of trying to finish them off or helping your enemies finish them off. So this is pretty significant because it's going to give you even longer range to reach out and touch them, right? So that's very interesting. And then they updated Silverbrand's build description that attack speed is capped at 1.5. But that's all we're going to get into in this session of this update, right? Now, the next episode 2 is going to go into the actual God updates because there's a bunch of God changes and some huge God changes in the way that now they're going to have actual conquest stats and non-conquest stats, and we're going to get into that tomorrow. So yeah, they're going to have ability to change the stats on the god where it only affects them outside of conquest, and then a different set of stats where it actually affects them in conquest. So look for that tomorrow, man. That is a very, very interesting new mechanic that they're bringing in. But yeah, man, that's episode 1 of our 9.7 update. And I know this one's a little bit longer, and that's why I broke this down into a 3 episode series, right? So today was the items, tomorrow's going to be God updates, and then on the 3rd episode, I'm going to actually break down this diminishing returns and CC, right? And explain it to y'all, because I'm telling you, it's very confusing, and I know if I'm confused, there's a lot of other people out there confused too, right? Especially the way they talked about it in yesterday's stream. So I'm going to do a deep dive into diminishing returns and the new calculations for what's considered hard CC and soft CC and who gets what stacks, right? So look for that in episode 3. So again, Episode 2 is going to be the God changes. Episode 3 will be talking about CCing and diminishing returns, right? So again, if this is the first time seeing our videos, man, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. We usually put out videos every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. In fact, I haven't missed a Friday, Saturday, Sunday in over 2 years. The channel's been alive, and we attempt to stream every Tuesday at 11:30 Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, right, in the morning, so you can catch us then. Again, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. I'm Dark Garza, your OG on the GC. See you next time.